The lights in the Great Hall dimmed as the final vote was counted. Kangwoo sat in the human section and watched the big screen show the numbers. 847 votes said yes. 23 said no. 12 did not vote at all. The motion to kick humanity out of the Galactic Federation had passed. Ambassador Park Jin stood up slowly. His old face showed no feeling as Council Speaker Vexitar spoke the results out loud. Earth and all human worlds would be cut off from galactic trade, communication networks, and defense agreements within 30 days. The charges against humanity were many. They said humans expanded too fast, broke rules about primitive species, and were too unpredictable in talks with other species. Dr. Lee Hanna, who planned strategy for the human team, quietly put her papers away. Around them, alien representatives celebrated. She had warned this day would come. Humanity had grown from one world to over 200 colonies in just 300 years. This made the older alien species nervous. When humans refused to follow traditional galactic guidance, they made enemies. Vextar was a tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms. He had always looked down on humans. His people, the Altarians, had been in space for thousands of years before humans even invented the wheel. To him, humans were children playing with toys they did not understand. Perhaps being alone will teach your species the humility it lacks, Vextar said as the humans walked out of the chamber. Park Jin stopped at the door and turned back. Speaker Vextar, he said in a calm voice, humility is something we learned long ago. The question is whether you have learned wisdom. The alien speaker made a sound like laughter. Wisdom? From a species that has been in space for barely 3 centuries? Your arrogance knows no bounds. Time will tell, Park Jin replied and walked away. Outside the chamber, the human delegation moved quickly through the corridors of the Federation Capital Station. Other aliens stepped aside as they passed. Some looked happy. Others seemed worried. A few just stared. Sir, said Commander Yoon-soo, walking beside the ambassador, should we activate the protocols? Park Jin nodded slightly. Send the signal. Tell all human worlds that Protocol 7 is now in effect. Dr. Lee Hanna caught up with them as they reached their ship. How long do you think it will take them to realize their mistake? She asked. Not long, Park Jin said. Maybe 6 months, maybe less when their economy starts to collapse. Captain Kim Tae was waiting for them on the ship. He was a young man with sharp eyes and steady hands. Ambassador, I have reports from our agents across the galaxy. Every human world is ready. The hidden factories are prepared to come online. Our defense fleets are in position. Park Jin sat down in his chair and looked out at the space station they were leaving. Kim Tae, how many species voted to exile us? 847, sir. And how many of those species know our real capabilities? Kim Tae smiled. None of them, sir. The ship pulled away from the station and headed toward human space. Behind them, the Galactic Federation continued its celebration. They thought they had solved their human problem. They had no idea what was coming. On Earth, President Choi Min received the message about Protocol 7. She immediately called an emergency meeting with the Defense Council. General Nam Ki entered the room carrying a thick folder marked with red warnings. Madam President, Nam Ki said, it is time to show the galaxy what humanity really is. The general opened his folder and spread papers across the table. Maps showed hidden military bases throughout human space. Charts listed weapons and ships that officially did not exist. Reports detailed technology that was years ahead of anything the Federation had seen. For 100 years, Nam Ki explained, we have let them think we are weak. We followed their rules and accepted their limits on our technology. We let them believe we were grateful children who needed their protection. President Choi studied the papers. How many ships do we really have? 3,000 combat vessels, Madam President. The Federation thinks we have 300, and our weapons technology? 20 years ahead of theirs in most areas. 50 years ahead in some. Minister Park Hyo, who handled relations with alien species, looked worried. If we reveal all this, there will be war. General Nam Ki shook his head. No, Minister. There will be a reckoning. The Federation will learn that they made a terrible mistake. Back in space, the human ship reached the edge of Federation territory. Ambassador Park Jin stood on the bridge and looked at the stars. Each point of light represented a world, and many of those worlds would soon learn what humanity was truly capable of. Sir, said Dr. Lee Hanna, Are you sure this is the right path? Once we show them what we really are, there is no going back. Park Jin was quiet for a long moment. Hana, do you know what the biggest mistake the Federation made was? Underestimating us? No. They assumed that because we were young, we were also stupid. They thought that because we seemed grateful for their help, we actually needed it. They never considered that we might have been playing a longer game. The ship jumped to hyperspace, heading for human territory. In a few hours, they would be home. And then the real work would begin. On the Federation capital, Speaker Vextar was already planning the enforcement actions. Federation fleets would visit human worlds to make sure they followed the exile order. He expected the humans to beg and plead. Some might even cry. Admiral Rixtal of the Centauran Navy was given command of the first enforcement fleet. He had fought in many wars and conquered many worlds. Dealing with a few frightened human colonies would be easy work. How many ships should I take? Rixtal asked Vextar. 50 should be more than enough. Humans have never been much good at fighting. Rixtal nodded. In 3 days, his fleet would arrive at the first human world. He expected to find panicked colonists ready to surrender. He had no idea that Lieutenant Colonel Park Soo was waiting for him with weapons that could turn his ships into scrap metal. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had been holding back for a very long time. The vote to exile Earth had passed. Now humanity would make their own rules known. 3 days after the vote, Captain Kim Tae sat in his command center on New Jeju. This world was far from the main shipping lanes, which made it perfect for what he needed to do. The Federation thought it was just another farming colony. They were wrong. Kim Tae pressed a button on his console. Across human space, hidden communication relays came to life. These relays had been built in secret over many years. They looked like ordinary mining equipment or weather stations. The Federation had never bothered to check them closely. This is Command Center Alpha. Kim Tae spoke into his microphone. Protocol 7 is active. All hidden assets are now operational. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, Commander Yoon Soo received the message. She walked to what looked like a simple mining control room, but when she entered her security code, the walls slid away to show something very different. Banks of computers lined the room. Advanced manufacturing equipment filled the space beyond. Computer begin activation sequence, Yoon Soo said. Activation sequence initiated, the computer replied. Estimated time to full production capacity, 4 hours. Similar scenes played out on dozens of human worlds. What the Federation thought were mines and farms were actually advanced technology centers. For over 50 years, humanity had been building a secret industrial network. Every human colony had hidden factories and research centers. On Earth, President Choi Min met with her top advisors in a secure room deep underground. The walls were lined with screens, showing the status of human worlds across the galaxy. Green lights appeared one by one as each hidden facility came online. Report, President Choi said to General Nam Ki. All Phase 1 facilities are active, the general replied. We now have full production capability for advanced weapons, ships, and defensive systems. The Federation will not be able to track our communications or movement. Dr. Sim Jun, the head of human intelligence, stepped forward. Madam President, our agents report that Federation enforcement fleets are already moving toward human worlds. Admiral Rixtal is leading the first group. President Choi nodded. Good. It is time they learned the truth about us. Minister Li Bo looked at the screens. Are we really ready for this? If we show our true strength, every species in the galaxy will see us as a threat. They already see us as a threat, President Choi replied. That is why they voted to exile us. The difference is that now we will stop pretending to be weak. On the frontier world of Haven, Colonel Park Min received his orders. His job was to coordinate the defense of the outer colonies. For years, he had been building hidden weapon platforms in the asteroid fields around his world. The Federation thought the asteroids were just space rocks. They had no idea that many contained powerful guns and missile launchers. All units, this is Park Min. He spoke into his communicator. Defensive positions are now active. If any Federation ships approach with hostile intent, you are authorized to engage. Lieutenant Kang Soo was stationed on one of the hidden weapon platforms. She had been waiting for this day for 3 years. The platform looked like a regular mining station from the outside. Inside, it held enough firepower to destroy a battleship. Colonel, this is Platform 7, she reported. All weapons are online and ready. Back on New Jeju, Captain Kim Tae was coordinating with human worlds across the galaxy. His screen showed the location of every Federation enforcement fleet. The aliens thought they were moving in secret. They did not know that humanity had been watching them for decades. "Captain," said his communications officer, "we are receiving a message from the Federation fleet approaching. Kepler 442b Admiral Rixtal is demanding that Commander Yunsu surrender the world to Federation control." Kim Tae smiled. "Patch me through to Commander Yunsu." The screen showed Yunsu standing on the bridge of what looked like a simple colony transport ship. But Kim Tae knew that the ship had been secretly upgraded with military-grade weapons and shields. "Commander, you have 50 Federation ships approaching your world. Are you ready?" Yunsu nodded. "More than ready, Captain. These weapons have been waiting a long time to show what they can do." On Kepler 442b, Admiral Rixtal looked at the human colony through his ship's view screen. He saw ordinary buildings and simple spacecraft. Nothing looked threatening. He opened a communication channel to the colony. "Human colonists, this is Admiral Rixtal of the Centauran Navy. By order of the Galactic Federation, you must evacuate this world immediately. You have 1 hour to comply." Commander Yunsu appeared on his screen. She looked calm and relaxed. "Admiral, this world is human territory." "You have no authority here," Rixtal laughed. "Human territory? Your species has been exiled from the Federation. You have no rights and no protection. Surrender now and we will be merciful." "Admiral," Yunsu said quietly, "you should turn your ships around and leave. This is your only warning." The alien admiral was amazed by her boldness. "You dare threaten me? I have 50 warships. You have nothing but farmers and miners." "You have 50 ships," Yunsu agreed. "We have something better." She ended the communication and turned to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant Cho Yun, activate all defensive systems." Across the Kepler 442b system, hidden weapons platforms revealed themselves. They had been disguised as asteroids, mining stations, and communication relays. Suddenly, Admiral Rixtal found himself surrounded by over 100 weapon platforms. "What is this?" Rixtal shouted to his officers. "Where did these weapons come from?" His tactical officer studied the readings. "Sir, these platforms are using technology I do not recognize. Their power levels are beyond anything in our database." On his homeworld, Speaker Vextar was receiving reports from other Federation fleets. The same thing was happening everywhere. Human colonies that should have been defenseless were revealing powerful military installations. The humans had been lying about their capabilities for decades. Dr. Yim Hai, an alien scientist who studied human behavior, was not surprised. She had tried to warn the council that humans were more dangerous than they appeared. "Speaker Vextar," she said, "I told you that humans are deceptive by nature. They never show their true strength until they need to." Vextar was angry. "How could they have hidden so much from us?" "Because we never looked," Dr. Yim Hai replied. "We assumed they were telling us the truth about their military capabilities. We assumed they were grateful for our protection. We were wrong about everything." Back at Kepler 442b, Admiral Rixtal had to make a choice. He could attack the human positions and probably win, but he would lose many ships. Or he could retreat and report what he had found. Commander Yunsu made the choice easier for him. Her voice came over his communication system again. "Admiral, you now see what humanity is really capable of. Leave the system immediately, or we will show you why the Federation was right to fear us." Rixtal looked at his tactical display. The human weapons were locked onto his ships. He could destroy the colony, but the cost would be too high. "All ships withdraw to a safe distance," he ordered. "We need to report this to the Council." As the Federation fleet pulled back, Commander Yunsu allowed herself a small smile. The secret was out. Now the galaxy would learn what humanity could really do when they stopped playing by other people's rules. Admiral Rixtal expected to find frightened colonists begging for mercy. Instead, he found Lieutenant Colonel Park Soo commanding a defense network that should not have existed. The human weapons were unlike anything in Federation records. Energy shields adapted in real time to incoming fire. Kinetic weapons punched through armor that had never been penetrated before. The tactical coordination was better than anything the Federation's best commanders could achieve. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "the humans are using weapon frequencies that are not in our database. Our shields are not effective against them." Rixtal watched his fleet's status display. 3 of his ships had already taken heavy damage. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were winning. "How is this possible?" he asked. Intelligence reports said they had basic defensive capabilities only. On the surface of Kepler 442b, Lieutenant Colonel Park Soo coordinated the defense from his command center. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the position of every ship in the system. His officers worked calmly at their stations. "Colonel," said Major Kimdahl, "the Federation fleet is pulling back. Should we pursue?" Park Soo shook his head. "No, let them retreat. We want them to report what they saw here. The galaxy needs to understand what humanity is capable of." Similar battles were happening across human space. On New Sol, Captain Lee Wan faced the Andromedan battle group. The Andromedans had the most powerful ships in the Federation. Their battle cruisers were considered unstoppable. But human electronic warfare systems disabled their weapons and engines in minutes. Captain Jorvan of the Andromedan Navy watched in shock as his mighty fleet was reduced to floating metal. "This is impossible," he said. "No species has technology advanced enough to do this to us." His communications officer looked up from her station. "Sir, the humans are sending a message." Captain Lee Wan appeared on the screen. He looked young for a ship commander, but his eyes were hard. "Captain Jorvan, your ships are disabled but not destroyed. This is a demonstration of mercy. Leave human space immediately and do not return." "You cannot do this," Jorvan protested. "The Andromedan Empire will not accept this insult." "The Andromedan Empire voted to exile humanity," Lee Wan replied. "You wanted us gone from your civilization. Congratulations. You got what you asked for." The Andromedan captain had no choice but to order his crippled fleet to withdraw. As they limped away, he wondered how the humans had developed such advanced technology without anyone noticing. On the crystalline world of Vega Prime, the situation was even more shocking. The Vegan ships were made of living crystal that could regenerate damage. They had never been destroyed by energy weapons. But humanity's new plasma cannons shattered the crystal hulls like glass. Admiral Zixera of the Vegan fleet could not understand what was happening. "Our ships are immune to energy weapons," she told her bridge crew. "It is physically impossible for them to be damaged this way." Lieutenant Colonel Bei Min commanded the human defense of the nearby mining station. His voice came over the communication system with a simple message. "Your ships are not immune to our weapons. Leave now or be destroyed." Within 6 hours, 3 Federation enforcement fleets had been defeated or forced to retreat. Reports flooded back to the Federation capital. Every species that had sent ships to enforce the exile was learning the same hard lesson. Humanity had been hiding their true military capabilities for decades. On the Federation capital world, emergency sessions convened around the clock. Speaker Vextar looked at the damage reports with growing alarm. The humans had not just defended themselves. They had humiliated the Federation's best military forces. "How could our intelligence have been so wrong?" he demanded. Dr. Yimhai stood before the emergency council. She had studied human behavior for 20 years. Unlike the other council members, she was not surprised by what was happening. "Honorable Speaker," she said, "our intelligence was not wrong. It was incomplete. We saw what the humans wanted us to see." "Explain," Vextar ordered. Dr. Yimhai activated a holographic display. It showed human expansion over the past century. "Look at the pattern. Humans always appeared to be just strong enough to defend themselves, but never strong enough to threaten anyone else. They carefully maintained this appearance while secretly building much more powerful capabilities." Council member Therick of the Rigel Confederation was angry. "You are saying they deliberately deceived us?" "I am saying they are smarter than we gave them credit for," Dr. Yimhai replied. "While we were focused on their rapid expansion, they were quietly building the most advanced military in the galaxy." The reports kept coming in. Human worlds that were supposed to be simple farming colonies had revealed massive industrial complexes. Mining stations turned out to be weapons manufacturing centers. Even human merchant ships were carrying military-grade equipment. Captain Min Ho was commanding one of these disguised merchant vessels near the Federation border. His ship looked like an ordinary cargo hauler. In reality, it carried enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. "Captain," said his navigator, "we are being approached by a Federation patrol. They are ordering us to stop for inspection." Minho smiled. "Send them the standard cargo manifest. Let them think we are carrying grain and mining equipment." The Federation patrol ship pulled alongside. Its captain, a Centauran named Vexic, expected to find a nervous human crew. Instead, he found Min-ho calmly waiting for him. "This is a routine inspection," Vexic announced. "Open your cargo holds for examination." "I am sorry," Min-ho replied, "but this ship is no longer subject to Federation authority. We are traveling through international space, International space." Vexic laughed. "There is no such thing. All space belongs to the Federation." "Not anymore," Min-ho said. He pressed a button on his console. Suddenly, his harmless-looking cargo ship revealed hidden weapon ports. Advanced targeting systems locked onto the patrol ship. Vexic stared at his tactical display in shock. The human merchant vessel was showing enough firepower to destroy his patrol craft with ease. "This is impossible," he whispered. "This is the new reality." Min-ho replied, "Humanity is no longer part of your Federation. We make our own rules now." Back on Earth, President Choi Min watched the reports from across human space. Every engagement had ended in human victory. The Federation's military forces were learning that they had badly underestimated their former members. "General Nam Ki," she said, "what are our casualties?" "Minimal, Madam President. We lost 2 patrol craft and had minor damage to 3 defense platforms. The Federation lost or had damaged over 100 ships." Minister Park Hyo looked worried. "This will mean war. They cannot accept such losses without responding." President Choi shook her head. "No, Minister. This will mean respect. For the first time, the Federation will have to treat humanity as equals instead of children." Dr. Lee Hana entered the room carrying a communication device. "Madam President, we are receiving surrender offers from several Federation fleets. They are requesting safe passage out of human space." "Granted," President Choi ordered. "We want them to return home with stories of what they saw. The galaxy needs to understand that humanity has changed the rules of the game." As Federation ships limped back to their home worlds, word spread quickly through alien space. Humanity, the species that had seemed so grateful for Federation protection, had revealed themselves to be the most powerful military force in the galaxy. The vote to exile Earth had passed. Now the galaxy was learning what that really meant. Humanity was no longer bound by Federation rules or limitations. They were free to show their true strength, and they were just getting started. 6 months after the exile vote, Ambassador Park Jin walked back into the Galactic Council chamber. The last time he had been here, alien representatives were celebrating humanity's expulsion. Now the same chamber held worried leaders who had watched their enforcement fleets return home in defeat. Speaker Vextar looked older than before. His blue skin had lost some of its color and his forearms moved with less confidence. The Federation had lost over 300 ships trying to enforce the exile. Their military was in shambles and their economy was starting to collapse. "Ambassador Park Jin," Vextar said carefully, "the Council recognizes your request to address this body. You have 15 minutes. Park Jin stood at the same podium where the exile had been announced. Behind him, holographic displays showed the current state of galactic affairs. Trade routes that had carried goods for centuries were now empty. Military fleets that had kept peace for millennia were hiding in their home systems. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, Park Jin began. 6 months ago, you voted to exile humanity from the Federation. We accepted your decision without argument or protest. However, it seems you did not fully understand what that decision would mean." Engineer Oh Young stepped forward and activated the displays. Charts showed the dramatic changes in galactic trade since the exile. Profits were down 70% across most sectors. Several smaller species were facing economic collapse. "These numbers show the reality of your choice," Oh Young explained. "Human colonies were not just members of the Federation. We were your largest customers, your most innovative suppliers, and your primary source of new technology." Council member Korvash of the Tau Ceti Alliance spoke up. "You cannot blame us for the economic problems. Many factors contribute to trade difficulties." Oh Young changed the display to show mineral exports. Before the exile, human mining operations provided 60% of the rare elements used in Federation technology. Those shipments stopped the day we were expelled. The numbers were devastating. Quantum processors needed helium-3 from human gas giant operations. Faster-than-light drives required rare crystals that human colonies had been mining for decades. Medical equipment depended on isotopes that only human laboratories could produce in sufficient quantities. "You exiled us from your civilization," Park Jin continued. "This means we are no longer bound by Federation laws, trade regulations, or technology sharing agreements. We now operate under human rules. Speaker Vextar tried to maintain his dignity. The Federation does not need human resources. We managed perfectly well before your species joined us. Dr. Sim Jun, humanity's new chief diplomat, stepped forward with another set of data. Speaker Vextar, that is not accurate. Before humanity joined the Federation, galactic technology had been stagnant for over 1,000 years. Human innovation increased the rate of technological progress by 300%. The displays showed invention records from Federation archives. Before humans joined, new technologies appeared every few decades. After human membership, breakthrough discoveries happened every few years. Faster ships, better weapons, more efficient power sources. Most of the Federation's recent advances had human origins. Moreover, Dr. Sim Jun continued, human military forces provided security for over 40 trade routes. Since our exile, pirate attacks have increased by 500%. Several shipping companies have gone out of business. Council member Thexri of the Orion Republic looked uncomfortable. These are temporary problems. The Federation is adapting to the new situation. Ambassador Park Jin smiled slightly. Are you adapting well to the hegemony invasion? Silence fell over the chamber. The hegemony was an aggressive alliance from the galaxy's outer rim. For years they had been testing Federation defenses. Now with human military support gone, they were launching full-scale attacks on Federation worlds. The hegemony has conquered 12 Federation worlds in the past month, Park Jin said. Your remaining fleets cannot stop them. The mathematical reality is simple. Without human military support, the Federation cannot defend itself. Minister Yextal of the Alpha Centauri system stood up angrily. You dare threaten us? This sounds like extortion. Minister, Park Jin replied calmly, this is not a threat. It is an observation of facts. You voted to remove humanity from the Federation. We did not vote to remove the hegemony. They are taking advantage of the weakness you created. Engineer O Young displayed a map of hegemony advances. Red zones showed conquered territory spreading deeper into Federation space. Blue zones showed the remaining Federation military forces, which were clearly inadequate to stop the invasion. The hegemony has been waiting for this opportunity for decades, Dr. Sim Jun explained. They knew that human military technology was the main thing keeping them contained. When you exiled humanity, you removed the biggest obstacle to their expansion. Speaker Vextar looked at the map with growing alarm. What are you proposing? Park Jin clasped his hands behind his back. We are not proposing anything, Speaker. You called this meeting to hear our terms. I am simply explaining the new reality. He gestured to the displays. Before the exile, humanity followed Federation rules because we were members. We accepted limits on our technology because we were part of your system. We shared our innovations because we wanted to be good citizens. Now, Park Jin continued, we are independent. Human colonies set their own trade policies. Human companies choose their own customers. Human military forces defend human interests only. The implications hit the chamber like a physical blow. Without human participation, the Federation's economy was collapsing. Without human military support, they could not defend themselves. Without human innovation, their technology would stagnate. Council member Portix of the Vegan system asked the question everyone was thinking. What would it take for humanity to rejoin the Federation? Park Jin was quiet for a long moment. That is the wrong question, Counselor. Humanity will not rejoin the Federation as it currently exists. Dr. Sim Jun stepped forward again. However, we might consider joining a new organization, one where humanity is treated as an equal partner, not a junior member seeking approval. Engineer O Young displayed a new set of proposals. Human colonies would be recognized as sovereign territories. Human technology would be shared through bilateral agreements, not Federation mandates. Human military forces would maintain independent command structures. Most importantly, Park Jin added, decisions affecting humanity would require human consent. No more votes to exile us or limit our expansion. Speaker Vextar looked around the chamber. Many council members were nodding. They had learned the hard way that the Federation needed humanity more than humanity needed the Federation. These terms would require significant changes to the Federation Charter, Vextar said slowly. Yes, Park Jin agreed. The same Federation that voted to exile us would need to vote to accept us as equals. Are you prepared to do that? The question hung in the air. Outside the chamber, reports were coming in of another hegemony victory. Federation world Rigel 7 had fallen after only 6 hours of fighting. The invasion was accelerating. Council member Korvash stood up. If we agree to these terms, will humanity help defend against the hegemony? Ambassador Park Jin looked at the alien leader for a long moment. Counselor, that depends on whether you are asking humanity to help defend the Federation that exiled us, or asking humanity to help defend our new partners and allies. The distinction was clear. The Federation as it existed had rejected humanity, but a new organization, one that treated humans as equals, might earn their loyalty. I call for an emergency vote, Speaker Vextar announced. All in favor of beginning negotiations for a new galactic charter based on the human proposals? Hands, tentacles, and appendages rose throughout the chamber. The vote was unanimous. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity would return to galactic civilization, but on their own terms. The age of human subservience was over. The age of human partnership was about to begin. 1 year after the exile, the Galactic Federation faced its darkest hour. The hegemony invasion had accelerated beyond anyone's worst fears. 27 Federation worlds had fallen in the past month alone. Their aggressive forces moved through space like a plague, conquering everything in their path. Captain Ko Min commanded humanity's fastest response fleet from the edge of Federation space. Her ships were hidden in the shadow of a dead planet, watching the destruction unfold. Through her view screen, she could see the burning remains of what had once been the prosperous world of Beta Hydri. Captain, said her tactical officer, Lieutenant Nam Su, we are receiving distress calls from the Federation fleet in the next system. They are requesting immediate assistance. Ko Min studied her orders one more time. They were clear. Observe Federation conflicts, but do not intervene unless human interests were directly threatened. Continue monitoring, she ordered. Do not respond to their calls. It was painful to watch. The Federation admiral commanding the defense was brave but outmatched. His ships used outdated tactics against an enemy that had spent decades studying Federation weaknesses. Within 2 hours, the system would fall. On the Federation capital, Speaker Vextar sat in his private office with Dr. Yim Hai. The alien xenopolitics expert had become his most trusted advisor during this crisis. Reports covered his desk, each one bringing worse news. Another fleet destroyed at Wolf 359, Dr. Yim Hai reported. Admiral Kextar managed to evacuate most civilians, but the hegemony now controls the entire outer rim. Vextar looked older than his 800 years. The stress of watching his civilization crumble was taking its toll. How long until they reach the core worlds? At their current rate of advance, 6 months. Maybe less. The speaker stood and walked to his window. Outside, he could see Federation ships preparing for what might be their final defense. We need the humans, don't we? Dr. Yimhei nodded. Our military analysis is clear. Without human technology and tactics, we cannot stop the hegemony. Our remaining forces might slow them down, but we cannot win. Then we must accept their terms. All of them, Speaker. Full equality, sovereign territory rights, independent military command. Everything they demanded. Vextar was quiet for a long moment. 6 months ago, he had looked down on humans as primitive children. Now he was preparing to beg for their help. Arrange a meeting with Dr. Sim Jun. Tell him I am ready to negotiate personally. Dr. Sim Jun received the message while working in his office on New Geneva. The human diplomatic team had been expecting this moment for weeks. Their intelligence networks reported that the hegemony was preparing for their final push toward the Federation core. So, said Minister Li Bo, who had joined him for the meeting, Vextar wants to negotiate directly. That shows how desperate they are. Dr. Simjun looked at the star charts on his wall. Red markers showed hegemony-controlled territory. It covered nearly a quarter of the galaxy now. The question is whether we help them or let the Federation fall completely. The President's position is clear, Li Bo replied. We help them only after they agree to our new charter. No more half measures or promises. The meeting took place on a neutral space station at the border between human and Federation territory. Speaker Vextar arrived with a small delegation, looking humbled in a way that would have been unthinkable a year ago. Dr. Simjun met him with calm professionalism. Speaker Vextar, Dr. Simjun said as they sat down, I understand you wish to discuss military cooperation against the hegemony. Vextar nodded slowly. Dr. Simjun, the Federation faces extinction. Our military forces cannot match the hegemony's technology or numbers. We need human assistance. The Federation voted to exile humanity because we were too dangerous, Dr. Sim-Jun reminded him. Now you want us back because we are the only ones dangerous enough to save you. Yes, Vextar said simply. That is exactly what I am saying. The honesty surprised Dr. Sim-Jun. He had expected the alien leader to try to maintain some dignity. Instead, Vextar was admitting the truth plainly. What are you prepared to offer? Dr. Sim-Jun asked. Vextar placed a data tablet on the table. Full acceptance of the human charter proposals. Sovereign territory status for all human worlds. Independent military command. Equal voting rights in all Federation decisions. Dr. Sim-Jun studied the document. This gives humanity everything we asked for. Why should we believe the Federation will honor these agreements? Because, Vexatar said quietly, we have learned what happens when we do not have human partnership. The galaxy burns. 3 days later, Captain Ko-Min received new orders. Human fleets across the galaxy were moving toward hegemony positions. The time for observation was over. Humanity was going to war. Her first target was the system where she had watched Federation forces die weeks earlier. The hegemony had established a major base there, using it to launch attacks deeper into Federation space. All ships, this is Captain Ko-Min, she announced to her fleet. You know our mission. We are not fighting for the Federation that exiled us. We are fighting for our new partners and for the safety of civilized space. The attack began at dawn. Ship time. Human vessels appeared out of hyperspace using stealth technology the hegemony had never encountered. Their weapons struck with precision that demolished hegemony defenses in minutes. Admiral Gorthak of the hegemony Third Fleet could not understand what was happening. His forces had been winning every battle for months. Now they were being destroyed by ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. What are those vessels? He demanded from his bridge crew. Human ships, Admiral, but they are using technology that is not in our intelligence reports. Gorthak watched his mighty fleet being torn apart by forces he had not expected to face. The humans were supposed to be exiled, cut off from galactic civilization. How were they here? And how were they so powerful? Retreat, he ordered. Signal all hegemony forces to fall back to defensive positions. But retreat was not easy when facing an enemy that could appear anywhere without warning. Human ships harassed the hegemony withdrawal, turning an orderly retreat into a chaotic rout. Similar scenes played out across dozens of star systems. Hegemony forces that had been advancing steadily for months suddenly found themselves under attack by an enemy they had not prepared to fight. The human military was everything the Federation's forces were not: fast, innovative, and utterly ruthless when necessary. On the Federation capital, reports of human victories poured in around the clock. The tide of war was turning with shocking speed. Worlds that had been under hegemony control for months were liberated in days. Speaker Vextar watched the tactical displays with amazement and gratitude. How are they doing this? Our best commanders could not achieve such results. Dr. Yim-Hai smiled slightly. Because they are not following Federation military doctrine. Human tactics are based on speed and surprise rather than overwhelming force. They strike where the enemy is weak and disappear before counterattacks can be organized. Commander Bei Yang was leading one of those surprise attacks on a hegemony supply depot. His small fleet had penetrated deep behind enemy lines using stealth technology that made them invisible to conventional sensors. All targets acquired, reported his weapons officer. Ready to engage! Fire! Bei Yang ordered. The supply depot exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Years' worth of hegemony military supplies were destroyed in seconds. Before enemy reinforcements could arrive, the human ships vanished back into hyperspace. Mission accomplished. Bei Yang reported to his commanders. Depot destroyed. No casualties on our side. It was the same story everywhere human forces operated. They appeared without warning, struck with devastating effect, and disappeared before the enemy could respond. The hegemony, which had built its strategy around massive frontal assaults, had no answer for human mobility and stealth. Within 6 months, the hegemony invasion had collapsed completely. Their forces were driven back to their original territory, and several of their key worlds were under human occupation. The species that had threatened to conquer the galaxy was now suing for peace. The final ceremony took place in the same chamber where humanity had been exiled 2 years earlier. But this time Ambassador Park Jin stood not as a supplicant, but as an equal partner in a new galactic order. The new Galactic Alliance Charter is now in effect, Speaker Vextar announced. Humanity takes its place as a founding member with full sovereign rights and equal representation. Park Jin looked around the chamber at the alien leaders who had once voted to exile his species. The vote to exile Earth passed, he said simply. But in the end, it taught both humanity and the galaxy an important lesson. True strength comes not from dominance but from partnership among equals. The galaxy had learned its lesson the hard way. Humanity had returned to galactic civilization, but on their own terms. The age of human subservience was over forever. The age of human leadership had begun.